What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of V for To Your Eternity Season 3. This is episode 4, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. So picking up after that shocking ending in which Mizuha ended up killing her mother. Yeah, of course. So we see like Fushi, finding Mizuha outside, talking to her about like what happened to Mizuha's mother. It's revealed that that Fushi did find Mizuha's mother's dead body before she ended up catching up to her. Um, but of course, when he tries to ask Mizuha what happened, she has no recollection of what happened because it's just like she just blacked out at one point during the day, and then she just found like a knife on her hand and her mother's dead body on the floor. So she ends up panicking to the point where she's afraid of what's going to happen if if she goes back to the house. Um, you know, like whether or not she's going to be arrested or kicked out of school. So she decides to run away and uh take refuge in an abandoned shrine or a temple.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can already see that she's just we can already tell that she's becoming infatuated in a way with Fushi, because she's just just her expressions and the way she's talking to him, and she's basically the way she asked him that too. She's just saying, "Is it okay if I stay with you tonight?" or something like that. It's just, it already seems she's just becoming another, similar to the other descendants of Hayase that are just completely obsessed with Fushi. She's it seems like she's sort of going down that path.
Yeah, unlike all those other times when Fushi does his best to keep his distance from all the Heisei descendants, this is like the one time which he feels like that he one of the first Heisei descendants he feels like he needs to keep an eye on.
Yeah, well, and also it does feel like he's trying to be a little bit more just as opposed to the way he's dealt with the other ones. I mean, he's at least trying to help her out in a way, but it just feels like it's going to I don't know. I'm kind of hoping it doesn't end up the same way. Maybe something will be different about it. But yeah, so the two of them kind of get a little bit closer, get to know each other a little bit better, as the Fushi tries to keep her company after this happens, and then she basically asks for all these things. She of course needs a change of clothes. She needs I guess working water, like a shampoo and all this stuff. That Fushi's not really familiar with some of these things, because some of these things are kind of modern conveniences that he doesn't know about.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know how to just materialize some of these for her, but he can materialize other things.
Yeah, I mean, once he gets his hands on something, he can just he can just make something out of something without buying it, of sorts, which is kind of cheating in a way. But yeah, that's how his powers work. He does gets asked by Mizuha about what Hayase is like, and he deliberately lies about who Hayase was. That he just says that she's a good person, that she took care of him and whatnot. But we all know the truth, that how menacingly evil she was back in the day.
Yeah, and also we hear from Mizuha about one of the things that she started to I guess doubt her mother, because of the what was it, the hair char, that thing that her mother gave to her, that she said was just passed down from her in her family for generations, and she found out that it was just something that could be bought at the store.
Yeah. And well, speaking of her mother, the following day, she gets a call from her dad saying that him and her mother are both worried about her, which leads to her getting confused what happened. So she quickly runs back to her home, just to shockingly find her mother is still alive and well. Which obviously there something is off with this scenario, just due to the fact that Fushi's has no involvement in her in her supposed resurrection, and obviously there's something going on with that.
Yeah, that's really like honestly like the most compelling thing happening so far is that like what's going on with the mother, how is she brought back, even though Fushi had no involvement in actually like resurrecting her.
Yeah, and of course, another thing that Fushi is noticing that he can't sense any knockers of
Yeah.
sorts. And then there was one moment in which he was watching on TV. Um, oh, of course, there's that one moment in which cameras were filming that one point in which Fushi got run over by a truck back in episode one. But he finds out like someone jumped off a bridge, and then somehow he just gets up and not, and just walks off like nothing happened. And Fushi like realizes that that's not him. Obviously, that I don't know like how that wasn't like a real red flag to him that there's something you know else really wrong going on recently. So it's something like he didn't really put two and two together immediately with that was something he saw on TV and Mizuha's mother suddenly just being resurrected.
Yeah. And along with that, of course, in the episode, we kind of get just more. I don't know if you just say like more slice of life stuff. With Fushi's friends all going out and just buying like modern clothes because they don't have any like modern day clothes to wear. So that they're just more like comedic segments with that because some of them like end up just getting sort of clothes that I guess that Fushi doesn't really believe suits them, and he kind of just like makes fun of them for it, which we find out that March is one of the people that picked out some of those
Yeah,
clothes. Uh,
yeah,
uh,
and of course they have dinner at later that day, and then I think March asks what happened with Kahaku? Why hasn't he been resurrected? And Fushi doesn't really know like whether or not if he can resurrect Kahaku. More than likely that his spirit moved on, and he can't resurrect him. Nor that he tried to even take his form of some way. Not that he not that he really could. I mean, he's never taken the form of any of the previous Heisei descendants, as far as we know.
yeah. Um, I mean, honestly, like I don't know. A part of me suspects that Kohaku maybe did come back, or some of what's happening might have something to do with either him or maybe the Knockers in some way. That the Knockers are back, and we mentioned that Fushi he can't really sense them. So I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they did come back in some form,
Yeah.
and that maybe some of what's going on with the mother is related to that.
Okay. So, so later on, Bond comes back and gives everyone one like green cards for identification because they have to get themselves settled in this new modern era. And then, of course, not only just that, but each and every one of them have to go to school, get a job, uh, and including Fushi, that he's also being assigned to the same school as Mizuha, um, which of course I forgot to mention that Mizuha does end up visiting Fushi and meeting all of his friends for the first time, but of course everybody
Yeah.
else like outside of
Well,
Fushi.
there's also a comedic scene before that where of course, as we know, that Mizuha is becoming just very like attached to Fushi, and the way he phrases her coming over to visit him, it gives her like the complete like I think this is a completely wrong impression.
Yeah. Everybody else, like they, I think most of them don't really take much of a liking to her at first, just due to the fact that they know their history with a with a lot of the prior descendants. Um, but and of course, soon afterwards. But like I said earlier, like once Bond comes in, he gives them their green cards and assigns them schools and jobs. Um, and then, of course, is told by Bond that he's going to the same school as Mizuha, just because of Mizuha's mother's soul um, to- told him to do that.
Yeah, yeah, and from what we remember from season two, like Bond can like kind of communicate with the souls of the deceased. So yeah, I mean that was kind of interesting. Like that's where the episode ends. It kind of just ends on that. but that's still. I mean, of course, that doesn't really explain the current, like why the mother is still alive technically.
I don't think that's even her. If the soul of
Yeah, I
Misa's
mean, it
mother,
could just be. Well, yeah, like we mentioned with the knockers, it could be like maybe a knocker taking her form or something. Maybe that's what's going on. But yeah, that's really like the most interesting thing so far in the season, to be honest. I mean, it is going to be kind of interesting to watch Fushi like actually try to go to school and like get a like a proper education. I guess you could assume that Fushi did his own like studying on different things, but he's never actually been to like a proper school and actually gotten an education on anything, I don't think. So I guess that'll be interesting to watch him try to do that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I mean, you would assume that he would still have like all this knowledge, just being like as old as he is. But I don't know. I guess that's one of my like criticisms of the series in itself is that Fushi, in my opinion, like he just does not act like someone who is an immortal who's been alive for like thousands of years. He just kind of acts like like a regular teenager that just so happens to have all these like kind of godlike powers.
yeah. I mean, he to be fair, like he has been like dormant for like in between seasons.
Yeah.
So he
I
hasn't
mean,
he
he's
hasn't
been
really
dormant,
come.
but he still has been. Well, maybe not so much thousands of years, but at least like hundreds of years. He's been alive.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, he has been doing a lot of research and a lot of stuff over, you know, during the old, like I guess the pre modern era years. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting now that that this mystery is unfolding. But like what's happening with Misa's mother, but supposedly what's happening in the world too, because now Fushi doesn't feel or sense any knockers around the world, but there could be some. It's possible that maybe the knockers may have evolved it at some point to the point where Fushi
yeah,
can't really sense him. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, like what's gonna happen later in the series.
yeah. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, it's in my opinion, I think it's I think the story is a little bit is starting to improve a bit in comparison to season two. Um, because we all know back in season one, like there was a lot of like emotional heartstrings due to the fact that Fushi's immortal, and that he had to watch a lot of his friends die in front of him. But of course that got turned on its head in which he finds out that he can resurrect them. Like whenever he wants. And then
Yeah,
of
and
course
that of course started with season two.
yeah,
Season
and that,
three, at least, like there is kind of I guess you'd say, a somewhat compelling mystery that you can latch onto in the beginning.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
but
really do hope that like this that like that it does like keep its momentum, like as like I would say more of like like a fantasy mystery uh sort of aspect if if they can keep that momentum hopefully.
yeah, and of course it's interesting that it's more refreshing, I guess, that we have like a more modern setting and it's not like just the standard medieval settings like we got in season one and season two. Um, and of course the characters all have to adapt being in that modern setting.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.